What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about FX's action crime drama series, Sons of Anarchy, and how I think the series should have ended as opposed to how it actually did. And in case it's not obvious, this video will contain some mild spoilers, so if in the past 9 or 10 years since the series finale, you still haven't managed to watch this show and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video right now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Sons of Anarchy is an American action crime drama television series created by Kurt Sutter for FX. The show aired from October 3rd, 2008 to December 9th, 2014, and it follows the lives of a close-knit outlaw motorcycle club operating in the fictional town of Charming in California's Central Valley. Now, Charlie Hunnam stars as Jackson Jax Teller, who is initially the vice president and subsequently the president of the club and the main character. After discovering a manifesto written by his late father, John, who previously led the club, Jax begins to question himself, his relationships, and the club. Now, themes throughout this show include love, brotherhood, loyalty, betrayal, and redemption. And it explored vigilantism, government corruption, and even some forms of racism. The show's plot depicted an outlaw motorcycle club using it as an analogy for human transformation. And the show's third season attracted an average of 4.9 million weekly viewers, becoming FX's highest rated series of all time, surpassing other FX hits like The Shield, Nip Tuck, and even Rescue Me. The season 4 and 5 premieres were two of the highest rated telecasts in FX history. The series finale, which aired again on December 9th of 2014. And in November of 2016, FX announced the development of the spin-off series, which we know has come to its conclusion since then, Mayans MC. And that was broadcast from 2018, and it ended in 2023. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the show still, after all these years, has an 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with a comparable audience score of 91%. It has a Metascore of 75, and that's based on 73 critic reviews on Metacritic, with a user score of 7.9, and that's based on almost 1,800 user ratings. And finally, it has an 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, and that's based on over 300,000 reviews, so, more than enough reviews to get a consensus. So, I'll start off by saying that Sons of Anarchy is one of my absolute favorite television shows of all time. I would 100% put it in my top 100. And as a musician, I have to say that this show had maybe the best music soundtrack of any non-musical drama I've ever heard. And I challenge anyone to prove me wrong on that point. Now, I thought the show was unique, especially at the time that it was on television. I also thought the show was well written, well casted, the acting was more than serviceable, and, all things considered, the story was downright riveting throughout. I found the characters to be extremely interesting, especially the important ones, but none was more important or interesting than Jackson Teller, the rogue prince of the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club, Redwood Original Charter, and of course, the main character of the series. And speaking of the series from a narrative standpoint, I was fine with the overwhelming majority of the show, even though there were a couple of little hiccups here and there that I kind of was like, I wouldn't have made that writing choice, but okay. Again, like I said, this show is firmly in my top 100. But I didn't like how the series ended, as I'm sure you can tell by now if you've seen the title of the video. Now, my issues with the ending of the show really don't start, en masse until Gemma goes to Oregon to hide from Jax after he finds out that it was her who killed Tara in season 6, and not the Chinese. Now, I was fine with Gemma running. I was fine with Unser going after her. I was even okay with Jax tracking her down. But what happened when he found her, I thought was a narrative mistake. Primarily because I thought it completely screwed Gemma's character arc. Now, if you remember back in season 3, Gemma was due to spend some time in jail for the murder of Peggy Zobel, but never actually did because she escaped the hospital to go with the club to Ireland to find Abel. Now, I understand that Gemma was framed for the murder by Stahl. Nevertheless, I think her character arc should have ended with her spending the rest of her life in prison for Tara's murder. You know, the one she actually committed. Knowing that she would never see Jax or her grandsons again. I think that would have been the perfect punishment for the wrongs that Gemma had committed throughout the series. But having Jax kill his mother was an irredeemable act in my mind. And it changed the way I felt about Jax's character altogether. You know, Nero even told Jax, hey, I don't think you should do what you're about to do. And, I know Jax killed a lot of people, 46 to be exact. But often his mom felt different somehow. He would have never done that to Tara, no matter what she did. And I don't know, I didn't like it. I think instead Jax should have maybe called the cops and let them come and get her. And since in my version of the end of this series, Jax doesn't off his mom, there would be no need for him to off Unser. Now, maybe Unser still dies at the hands of the Oregon State Police, maybe trying to keep them from taking Gemma away. And if that had happened, I suppose I would have been okay with that. I think that would have been a better choice than what we got, since I do still believe that Unser's character arc should have ended with him dying, and protecting Gemma would have been something I think he would have gladly died to do, especially given his medical condition. And finally, I thought Jax's death was a complete and utter cop-out. Don't get me wrong, after Jax off jury, I agree wholeheartedly that he had to go. But I thought it was hypocritical as hell for him to skip out on the mayhem vote to go ride off into the sunset and the front grille of a semi, driven by Michael Chiklis, from The Shield, which was kind of interesting. But especially when he wanted to kick Juice out of the club for attempting to off himself back in season 4. I would have had much more respect for Jax if he had been willing to take his punishment like a man, just like he made Clay do in season 6. Now, I know some of you will say, well, Jax deleting himself makes perfect sense because he went out just like his father did. Don't even get me started on that plot point. I know Kurt Sutter fashioned this series after Shakespeare's Hamlet, but I think the decision to reverse such an impactful plot point in the story was the biggest mistake that he made in the whole entire series. I mean, think about it. Everything that happened before Jax deposed Clay and took over Sons of Anarchy as the president happened because Jax was led to believe that Clay and Gemma offed his dad. I mean, Piney was deleted specifically to keep Jax from finding that out and the rest of the club. So, in my mind, why go through all that if JT had really deleted himself all along? And even after that, Jax offed Clay in part for the same reason. Also, hurting Tara and, a few other crazy things Clay did to kind of try to maintain power in the club. My point is that changing that whole scenario after all of that carnage just didn't make a whole lot of narrative sense, especially since Gemma basically copped to the act after Tara gave Jax the letters that she found from Maureen Ashby after the club came back from Ireland. Now, I understand that if things go this way, we don't get Come Join the Murder, that amazing song by the White Buffalo and the Forest Rangers. That really is a great song, man. Really, really good song. But Jax should have had his lights turned out at the end of Sons of Anarchy by the club. Because after all, them's the rules. Now, overall, the ending of the show doesn't stop me from recognizing the show's overall brilliance. In fact, I would say this show absolutely produced a modern icon in Jax Teller. And I would give this show a 9 out of 10 if this were that kind of video, but it's not. That's how good the show was. It was so good, in fact, that I've watched this show from start to finish at least 3 or 4 times at this point. But every time I do, the ending always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's how I know the ending isn't what it should be. And it's not just me being prisoner of the moment. And though I definitely believe that Sons of Anarchy is Kurt Sutter's opus, if you will, I do still think that his obsession with Shakespeare's Hamlet ultimately kept the show from being what it could have been. A near-perfect action crime drama. But what do you guys think? Do you think Jack should have died by the very same sword he lived by? Or do you like the way that Kurt Sutter chose to end the series? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go check out themadscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.